I'm serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how did you know about Africa? Now, I want to also put it in the series of questions in
Yes.
that you know that Africa is on this earth. This is where your ancestors are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have read probably books by the Europeans about Africa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, have you tried to find out? Of course, I'm putting it to you, but
Yes,
actually,
sure.
I'm putting it to African diaspora
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
in that what is stopping us from making the contact? Why are we not able to communicate with ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't in Nigeria just take a flight and say, okay, I'm
Yes.
going to find out about the people living in the Caribbean?
Yes.
I don't need to learn about the people in the Caribbean through
Books.
uh, the benevolent of one European who wrote about them.
Right. Agreed. Mm-hmm.
Let me just take a flight to Jamaica.
Yes.
Let me go and find out. Let me know these people that were my brothers and my sisters.
Mm-hmm. For
Why
myself. Yes.
can't the people in the Caribbean do the same?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't we make the connection? This is the question.
Well, to answer that, I would say perhaps we have not got to the point of a deep enough interest of wanting to, because there are people from the Caribbean who have gone to Africa to live and so on, but not the majority of people. They would sooner go to the US, certainly, which is the popular place that a lot of Caribbean people go to. I think it's a question of the interest is not deep enough. Now, I think your question really is why has there not been that deep an interest? And that's something I would need to think more about myself. Why has it not been that deep in it? Is it too far away? Even though you know you have deep ancestral connections with Africa, why have you not been interested in going to see for yourself instead of depending on CNN or whatever it is to see what Africa looks like? Or even to reading books. And over the years, I would have read different books now, about Africa, African history, and so on. But the question is, why have we not gone for the most part? I think we have not been interested enough. I think what's happening in the Caribbean increasingly, more governments are making the effort to establish airline flights and to increase the contacts. And I think if those happen at an official level, people can say, oh, hold on, there's an airline, the Antigua, for example, have an Antiguan Airways flying to, I think, Ghana or Nigeria. And I think if those things start to happen more, people can say, hold on, there's an air flight from Antigua to Ghana. I think I'm going to go to Antigua from St. Lucia and go to Ghana for 2 or 3 weeks. And I think when those things become more available, I think that will help to wake up the interest in people to start thinking more Africa than they've done before. I think those things can help in a kind of way. Part of our response.
But I can guarantee you that there are okay now. I was doing a research about my place of origin, which is Uromi in Edo State.
Yes. Is it Nigeria
Then
you're from?
that is Nigeria, yes.
Okay.
Then I found a document that was produced by a Russian.
Mm-hmm.
The guy is now in Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted him. I said, "Hey, are you available to talk about this research that you have done?"
Yes.
Of course, he told me he was no longer working on that at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
see, Russia do not have really that strong connection with Nigeria,
Yes.
like the US or UK or France, even, no? Okay,
Yes.
there are some connection, there are a lot of connection between Russia and a lot of Africans, no? I'm not saying there is no connection between Nigeria and Russia, but I'm saying
Right.
like they have with UK and the rest.
Yes, of course.
But this individual, perhaps, maybe because he was working for a university or for his own curiosity, he
Mm-hmm.
decided to go as far as to my village,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to my town, to do a story about my people.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why are we not moved
Mm-hmm.
by this, say, curiosity?
Yes.
That we at least finally come to realize that we are from Africa,
Yes.
or we have African brothers, if we are in Africa, that are living elsewhere. Why hasn't it come to our consciousness that we need to spend our money to undergo this trip to find out about the other half of me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is it What do we need to make it happen? It's not even because there is no direct flight.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yes.
can take a flight from, I don't know, from St. Lucia, come to Paris, from Paris, take a flight to Abidjan.
Yes.
Why is it difficult for us to do?
I don't think that it is that difficult. Is that maybe our consciousness, we have not turned and focused on doing that. We have not become interested enough for whatever reason in doing that. That's the best way I can rationalize it for now. We have not been interested enough. If you're interested enough in doing something, you will do it. Right? If I'm interested enough in going to New York, I say, I want to go to New York, I want to take a holiday to New York, then I will go. Or UK or wherever it might be. We have within us to develop an interest, an awakening within us. I need to be more interested in knowing and seeing the land of my ancestors. I think that's the best way I can explain it. You see, now as to why that interest is not there, I don't know. Maybe you can go back to deep colonialism effects, perhaps. I don't know. And I'm of a particular generation. But then, having said I'm a particular generation, are younger Caribbean people going to Africa in a way past my generation never even thought of going? I don't know. I'm not aware of that. There's a young woman I know who lives in Ghana. She made the choice to go there to live and to work and to study. And there have been older Caribbean people who always went there and did well in Africa. But it has not been a majority movement. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the best response I can give. The interest and the awakening of an interest has not been there. And perhaps your challenge can be, well, why don't you look at awakening an interest in going?
All right, yeah, that is the question. Yeah. How can we awaken that interest? Mm-hmm. Because this is what I found that happened based also of many people that I've interviewed, yeah, particularly those in the United States, mm-hmm, that what they know about Africa is through the European. Mm-hmm. And I think that is very dangerous.
Yes.
How can you know about, because if Africa, all the people in Africa have died, you cannot enter the land. That is why you are doing that. I can understand it. Mm. Even when I talk to professors of university, lecturers at university, yes, sometimes I do ask them, do you know that in Africa there are also universities? What kind of collaboration is existing? Mm-hmm. So that you can exchange data, you can ask questions, you can go there on a trip, you can find out for yourself so that you can write from your point of view. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's not only the African diaspora that are guilty of this, even the Africans themselves are guilty of this too. Mm-hmm. Now, let me give you an instance. Have you heard of how many African universities have sponsored expedition to study the ancient Egypt, ancient Nubia, for example, or even ancient Zimbabwe? Mm-hmm. I don't know of any. Maybe there are, but there are quite few. Mm-hmm. In that sometimes we neglect what belongs to us. Yes. We neglect to study who we are. Mm-hmm. Then we let it to be done by other people. By the Europeans. And then when we read the material, we say, no, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Yes. But why can't I do it? Mm-hmm. And I'm living in Africa. Egypt is in Africa. You don't really need to go somewhere before you can study this history.
Yes.
This is the question. It's like I'm asking myself the question because I think this is what we need to do. We need to help ourselves. It's like we are drowning. Mm. We want somebody to come and save us, but we're not even participating in our own rescue.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed. Agreed, yes. Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do?
What do we need to do? We have to find ways to wake ourselves up. Again, you go back to the Marcus Garveys and the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's and African leaders. When you go back to, Kwame Nkrumah and these people. And they were influential leaders because they woke people up. They made people become interested in their situation. And they called them to change their situations. And of course, you had the independence movements of the 50s and 60s and so on.